The NYXL were the most dominant team in Season 1. This is not a debate, this is fact. They are still the only team in Overwatch League to own multiple stage titles, winning stages 2 and 3 of Season 1. Stages 1 and 4? They came in second place. They came in first place overall in the regular season, and second place had over double the number of losses that they did. They had the undisputed MVP support of the league and an all-star lineup in tanks and damage dealers. They outlasted every challenger and every meta, being the only team to stay at or near the top for the entirety of Season 1. No one could touch them, until it really mattered. NYXL should have beaten the Fusion in the Season 1 semifinals. On paper, they were the better team, but after taking their feet off of the gas in Stage 4, they went into the playoffs looking sluggish and unprepared for the meta shifts that came with it. Philly took advantage.
Philadelphia Fusion, they need to win this fight. New York needs it even more, but there goes Meko's back, and there goes Jonak. He swapped onto the 76, and Philadelphia Fusion, have they done it? Have they set themselves to the Overwatch League Grand Finals? I think they may have.
They have. Doa Ark's the only one left there on the point. That is it.
Philadelphia Fusion is going to the Grand Finals.
The once mighty NYXL had suffered the biggest upset in Overwatch League so far, and with just those 2 games, the perspective of an entire community shifted. No longer were they the favorites, the titans, the best team to ever play the game. Now, they were the chokers. They might be great in the regular season, when there's no real pressure, but put them in a do-or-die situation, and the team would surely fall apart. This view of the team echoed around the community for an entire offseason, and all the NYXL could do was listen to it. Because what could they say? Objectively, they had choked. All they could do was wait until Season 2, where they would get the chance to prove to everyone watching that they were the real deal, that they were winners, not chokers. Did they succeed? Depends on who you ask. Over the off-season, the NYXL released a documentary detailing their journey through Season 1, and through it, we got a peek at just how heartbreaking the early playoff exit was to these players.
거기는 그냥 바다였죠, 그냥 한마디로. 저희는 좀 울었던 사람들이 많아가지고 그냥 울음바다라고 설명하면 될 것 같아요. 저한테는 정말 뼈아픈 추억인데 동시에 그것을 그러니까 아픈 추억을 뭔가 좀 깨닫게 그러니까 저희가 좀 더 열심히 해야 된다는 계기를 알았을 때 그게
So after watching that, you know that this team is hungry to prove themselves. Just like every other team in the league though, New York was not immune to departures. Wizard Young, who was credited for a lot of the success that the team enjoyed in Season 1, mutually agreed to leave the team in order to start a new story with the Washington Justice. Soon after, it was revealed that backup main tag Jonas would be joining him. To see how that went, you can watch my Washington Justice SiR. NYXL would be fine without him though. They still had head coach Pavane with the team, who recently led Team Korea to a 2018 Overwatch World Cup victory, along with returner Zet and newcomer IMT. Yeah, New York still had a strong staff room. As far as the roster itself, with former Seoul coach Nugget at the helm as general manager, NYXL would be retaining the rest of the roster from Season 1 into Season 2. This was no surprise. New York has a stacked, likable roster that everyone knew could find success. The all-star tank line of Mono and Meko, the MVP support line of Jonak, Onimo, and Arc, and DPS superstars like Sabyobi, Libero, and Pine would all be back. That alone would be enough to write the team down as championship contenders, but NYXL had a few more moves to make, both promotions from the XL2 Academy team. The first call-up, Nene, was highly expected. This damage dealer was a standout player on XL2, showing a mastery of any and all hitscan characters. The second was Flower, and he's a much more interesting pickup. See, Flower was a very well-known name pre-Overwatch League. He was a member of the South Korean 2017 World Cup team where he exploded onto the scene, showing a ridiculously deep hero pool and mastery over all of them. He almost single-handedly dismantled every other team that he came across in that competition. He was so impressive there that NYXL didn't want any other team to even have a chance at him. They picked him up for their Season 1 roster even though he was so young that he wouldn't be able to play at all until Season 2. Now, this is where things get interesting. When it became clear that NYXL wouldn't be able to play Flower in Season 1, they sent him down to their academy team so he could still play competitively. Seems like the logical thing to do, but Flower, then called Nanohana, had a string of lackluster performances in contenders, to the point where the team was forced to almost completely bench him for Mangachu. There was a period where we weren't really sure if NYXL was still planning to promote Flower. Was he somehow past his prime at 18? Was the 2017 World Cup an exception rather than the rule? NYXL decided to promote Flower anyways. The question was if he would be able to recapture that 2017 form. If he could, the league better watch out, cause this dude was crazy. But it's not like anyone was worried about NYXL's chances for success even if he couldn't. When you have a DPS line like Sebulbi, Pine, Libero, and Nene, it's almost a crime that you have to bench 2 of them. In addition, all of the players that made Season 1 New York so dominant would be returning. There is no reason to think that this team wouldn't be a top 5 contender. Now, the biggest problem, and the reason why everyone was so hesitant on them, was the choker stigma that had stuck with them since Season 1. The NYXL had to prove that they could perform when the lights were at their brightest, and there was only one way to do that. To nobody's surprise, the NYXL were really good to start the season. And in particular, the Nene signing was an early contender for best pickup by an existing team for Season 2. See, this team has incredible popular DPS talent and players like Sebulbi and Pine on heroes like Tracer, McCree, and Widow. However, neither of them were known for their Zarya, which was obviously crucial in a GOATS meta, and it seemed that New York wasn't very confident in the Zarya of either of them either. That's where Nene came in. Nene was quite good on hitscan, I'm not taking that away from him, but what really made him stand out, especially in this era of Overwatch, was his Zarya. While someone like Pine may have played aggressively and gone for hero plays like he did on Widowmaker and McCree, Nene played a little more intellectually, setting up combos with the rest of his team. Nene was quickly elevated to top 5 status in the league's Zarya rankings, but that could easily be due to the high quality of the team around him. You had former all-star players like Meko and Animo still doing their thing, the Flex God Libero was doing a good job on Brigitte, and Jonak still did Jonak things.
Doesn't quite find the kills, but he keeps them all corralled at the back of the point, so the Justice can't really push forward to try to contest. Configuration take now going to be expiring. The second take nearly going to be there. Jonak, oh man, this takes him down right up in the face of a Bastion. Finds a triple kill as Gino and Arc also fall. Let's go ahead and make it 4. You got more for me, Jonak. Let's go ahead and say it. Samsung's going to be dumping the bomb, trying to make it back in, but there it is.
But personally, I think more attention needs to be brought to Mono. I am always so impressed when I watch Mono play. More than any main tank in this league, he has a sixth sense of when to play passive and when to play aggressive, when to play with his team, and when to go for a flank shatter. This made him one of the most fun main tanks to watch as the season went on.
The flank shatter, oh he comes in, he fights both supports, they shut them down. Fantastic flank play coming out from Mono. Be remaining and will be finished off, you would expect. But gets a little bit more energy, barely makes the ledge. Oh, Mono! Mono! It is!
Atlanta Reign gets their members back faster, and this is really rough. Oh, hold on.
Carries out from Mono, okay, finds several people, the pin will kill off.
Backing away now.
Oh, bomb the openings up, trying to give them some space. Ground Hunter is going to be coming through from New York, locking them up. No going on the other
In general, the NYXL had a more passive playstyle, where they would hang back, hold a position, and wait for the other team to make a mistake. When they saw it, few teams were more decisive in their decisions to pounce. They were one of the best GOATS teams in the world, so when they went a perfect 7-0 to start the season, absolutely no one was surprised. They were the number 2 seed going into the playoffs, and everyone was preparing for a showdown with the only other undefeated team, and only team that could even touch them, the Vancouver Titans. Only a brick wall could stop them now, Its name was the Dynasty. Over the entirety of Stage 1, including their regular season match against Seoul, New York dominated by just being better in the GOAT's mirror matchup. In the quarterfinals, however, Seoul brought out an aggressive Sombra GOAT strategy with Michelle, and it caught New York off balance. Like, really off balance. They seriously never fully understood how to counter it, leading up to probably one of the most infamous plays in Overwatch League, for all the wrong reasons.
Further behind the grab, not there for Fleta. They can still make this work, but it's going to be in overtime. As they work their way forward. What was that? He eats it on that side! It doesn't do jack! Meko throws a bomb into the back of his play, trying to find something, but the EMP comes in! The shatter's absolutely huge! Jonik trying to keep him alive, and a novel gets picked, and he hits the sound mirror. Now the answering grab comes through! OT gonna be ticking down, and they've actually done it! Nene chokes it!
As awful as it looked on broadcast, when you look at it from Nene's point of view, it does make sense. NYXL has 5 ults, almost 6, giving them a massive ult advantage going into the final fight of the map. The only problem? Michelle, whose EMP is charged and can therefore shut down all of them with a single button press. Priority number 1 in this fight is to find Michelle and kill him before he can use it. If they can do that, NYXL is in the clear. The call is made to go in, and as they're making their way to the team, Nene catches a glimpse of the Sombra. In an instant, the play is formed. Solo grab Michelle, take him down early, everyone else presses Q, NYXL win the map. Unfortunately, it was an instant too late. But as good intentioned as that grab was, it didn't matter. They lost a game where they should have won. It was a number 2 seed versus a number 7 seed. The community had seen what they needed to see. At this point, the common belief was that NYXL hadn't grown from their choking tendencies. And to be honest, I can't argue with that. At this point, it was clear that Animo had won the battle for starting main support. Arc got a lot of credit in Season 1 for his Mercy play, but in a Lucio heavy meta, it seemed that he was forced on the bench. But this guy is too talented not to play, so it wasn't surprising to see that he had agreed to be transferred to the Washington Justice, where he would be able to start for a struggling team alongside his former teammate Jonas and former coach Wizard Hyung. Good luck, Arc, you're gonna need it. So going into Stage 2, I'm sure NYXL saw how they got completely destroyed by a Sombra variant of their GOATS comp and went, yeah, we need some of that. And that's how Saebyeolbe eventually found his way back to the stage. It was great to see the married man return for a bit, and his Sombra completely dismantled the Spitfire on his first go-around. Their ability to just throw Saebyeolbe in whenever they wanted to play her made the team very difficult to predict from map to map. Their original GOATS comp was just as deadly as it was in Stage 1, but their Sombra GOATS was just as threatening for a completely different reason. Saebyeolbe played Sombra just like how he played Tracer, as an assassin, who would focus in on the enemy supports, usually the Zen, and harass him until either he died or the team was forced to invest significant resources to protect him. It sucked to play against, and before we knew it, NYXL had left their disappointing playoffs match in the dust, won 5 more games in a row, and moved to 12-0 on the regular season. Only a brick wall could stop you now. Its name is the Rain. To this day, I'm still not 100% sure what happened to the NYXL against this team. Why were they so much slower than usual? Why did they make so many more mistakes? Did Dogman sneak some kryptonite on stage or something? In any case, the mighty NYXL lost their regular season winning streak to the then 5-7 Reign, and then lost to them a second time 2 weeks later. I don't know, man. I mean, 5-2 was still enough to make the playoffs, and to NYXL's credit, they were able to get their first playoff win of the season here against the Gladiators. Their semi-final matchup was what we were waiting for since Season 1. The still undefeated Titans. NYXL had never faced this team before, and while their playoff woes in the past casted some doubt, they were seen as one of the few teams who could even touch Vancouver. But it wasn't particularly close. NYXL lost this game 4-1 and was forced to watch the stage finals from home once again. Alright, this is it. This has to be it. After swapping back and forth a bit last stage, NYXL fully committed to Sabiolbe Sombra in stage 3, and it paid enormous dividends against admittedly pretty easy opponents, but still, this is your second 7-0 stage of the season. You were looking stronger than you ever had this year. This is the time. Only a brick wall can stop you now, and its name was the fucking Dragons. God damn it! Out of nowhere, you have Nene playing Sombra, Meko on Diva, and no Zarya? First of all, why isn't Sabiolbe on Sombra? He was doing so well all stage. Secondly, why is there no Zarya? Running no Zarya in a GOATS variant is a terrible idea. You have literally no damage. Was it an attempt to counter Deng's Pharah? If so, it was almost completely ineffective, and you needed to drop it after map 1, not stick with it the whole way through. Yes, Shanghai played great, and they would go on to win this stage, which they totally deserved. But that doesn't excuse the fact that after such a dominant stage, the planning and execution on the side of New York in this stage was atrocious. At least the Titans and the Shock stayed true to themselves for the most part. New York took everything that was working for them in stage 3 and threw it away in favor of a new plan that they stuck with even when it was clear that it wasn't going to work. Seriously, what were you thinking? The NYXL qualified for all 3 stage playoffs this season, going 7-0 in 2 stages, yet they only won 1 playoff game. I don't have to tell you why that's concerning. So Rollout came around with stage 4, and I'm gonna be honest, NYXL did not seem super confident about it. They tried a whole bunch of different DPS combinations, more than almost any other team, and I think experimenting that much cost them. They would trade wins and losses back and forth, including losses to other playoff teams like the Titans and Gladiators. They actually had a losing record in a stage for the first time in team history. Wait, an NYXL team already guaranteed the playoffs, suddenly doing a lot worse in stage 4? I can't help but feel like I've seen this before. Even though New York was going into the playoffs as the number 2 seed, winning the Atlantic Division, which on paper is incredible, no one was pulling for them. No one believed in them. Stages 1 and 3 had only solidified the perception the community had of them, and stage 4 seemed to indicate that the team was falling into the same traps that doomed them in season 1. All we could do was wait for the inevitable choke. But credit where credit is due, in the overall playoffs, where it mattered most of all, NYXL showed up. After playing Nene for the majority of stage 4, New York made the decision to bench him almost entirely in favor of Sabiolbe. Mainly playing Reaper and Bastion in the setup, the married man very quickly proved that the team made the right decision, surely not only popping off on the kill feed, but in the team's comms too. The dude is a natural leader. He's someone that you want on stage. Combine that with a deadly Doomfist and Mei from Libero, and all of a sudden, the NYXL were scary again. Their first game was up against the Spitfire, but New York put away the defending champs with relative ease, 4-1. Next were the Atlanta Reign, flying high after an upset of the Shock. While they put up a good fight, NYXL would inevitably halt any momentum they had with a 4-2 victory. This brought NYXL to the winners finals. For the second season in a row, New York was just one team away from competing in the grand finals. The problem? They had to face the Vancouver Titans. New York had faced the Titans twice before over the season, and both times Vancouver ended up on top. This time though, New York put it all on the line. This was a thrilling heavyweight match. Libero versus Haxel, Meko versus Janu, Mono versus TZ, Jonak versus Twilight, trading blows. We couldn't have asked for a better game to decide who was the most worthy of going to the grand finals. The series went the distance, a full 7 maps, but in the end it was Vancouver who had just the slightest of edges. New York lost this game and got sent down to the losers bracket, aka fed to a San Francisco team on the warpath. Not even a panic swap to Flower would save them. New York would lose Overwatch League Season 2 in 3rd place overall, but they gained a lot of respect for their winners bracket run. So in Season 1, the NYXL had a lot of success in the stage playoffs, but choked hard in the overall playoffs. And in Season 2, it felt like they had the opposite problem, failing horribly in the stage playoffs, but showing up when it really mattered in the overall playoffs. Does this mean that the NYXL were able to break free of the stigma of being playoff chokers? Like I said, it depends on who you ask. In my opinion, while New York wasn't completely able to free themselves of that label, they proved that they do have the ability to succeed. It's just a matter of if they will. I mean, look, I clowned on New York for their playoff woes, but their regular season performance deserves a lot of credit. An overall record of 22-6 in the regular season with 2 perfect stages is just nuts. Not to mention that they were just 1 map away from defeating the Vancouver Titans in the winners finals, and in another universe, probably in a lot of other universes, NYXL was on a grand final stage. They didn't get there this time, but on paper, this is still one of the best rosters in the league, filled to the brim with all-stars and MVPs. Based on their performance here, I truly do believe that this roster has the potential to play in front of a sold-out stadium for an Overwatch League Grand Finals sometime in the near future. That's why my final rating for the NYXL in Season 2 of the Overwatch League is an A. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking back at NYXL's season as much as I did. Do you still think New York are playoff chokers? How do you think they'll perform in Season 3? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss a single episode of Season in Review. We just got 8 teams left, that's not so bad. Let's see where we're going next. Alright, going from 3rd place to 2nd. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one, so I hope you're as excited as I am. Until then though, don't get tilted.